Hello, it is Saturday, November 14th, 2015, and welcome to the Multifarious Man Podcast, Episode 9. It takes two to make a thing go right. As always, I am your host, Jay Vincent. You can follow me on Twitter at Multifarious Man or at Facebook at Multifarious Man Podcast 2015. The website for the show and the blog is www.multifariousman.com. And on today's show, we are going to talk about my favorite music duets of all time. Now, any duets that were performed by singing groups that were famous duos. So like if they're known as being single groups, this would leave out anything like Hall & Oates or the Righteous Brothers or Simon and Garfunkel, because that's what they were known for as being groups. So this is anytime solo artists got together to perform a song and, like a one-off lightning in the bottle, got together for a movie or for someone's album and performed the song together. So that's what's going to be considered for today's show. So sit back and relax and enjoy. Again, this is the Multifarious Man Podcast.
Numerous and varied, greatly diverse and manifold. All the things I want to say that never been told. Demon Sinatra to Drake and Pharrell. When I'm listening to this week, you can never tell. Bogey and Bacall, even Meryl Streep. The devil wears Prada, even the big sleep. It doesn't matter where you stand. I'm the multifarious man.
All right, I am back. Welcome back to the Multifarious Man Podcast, Episode 9. And as I stated in the opening, this episode, of course, is going to be about fabulous, famous, or rather just plain old my favorite musical duets. But first up, we're going to talk about, as always, what I am actually reading, watching, and listening to. And what I'm actually reading this time around, I know I've been, mentioning a lot of these Kate Daniels books lately. So this week I'm actually reading kind of what would be considered an offshoot. So it's a character from the Kate Daniels series by Ilona Andrews. This one's actually called Gunmetal Magic. And the reason I say it's an offshoot, it's because it is a primary character from the regular series. So the regular series, which I've talked about in previous episodes, is written in the first person, and of course Kate Daniels is the star. Well, her best friend is named Andrea, and so Gunmetal Magic is actually a standalone story about her best friend. So it is told from Andrea's point of view. And the back of the book caption is, after eviction from the Knights of the Merciful Aid, Andrea is a wreck. So she starts to work, of course, for her best friend, Kate Daniels. She, of course, is, in this world of magic, she's a shapeshifter. And this is her standalone story. It's just starting off. She's been sent to investigate the murder or accidental death, unknown yet, of 4 shapeshifters who happen to work for her ex-boyfriend. And it wasn't, let's just say, an amicable breakup. So it was, in fact, it was quite angry. So the story's just starting off. I'm only about 50 pages in, but so far the mystery is pretty interesting. She's already crossed paths with her ex and his new fiance. So sparks are flying. This should be pretty interesting. Now, what I am watching, probably about maybe a year ago now, there was an announcement that they're bringing the X-Files back. It's going to be a limited run series. It's going to be 6 episodes coming up in the new year, 2016, starting in January. So to prime myself for it, I went back on Netflix and started watching the X-Files from the beginning. Now, if you're not familiar with the X-Files, you're probably living under a rock. But it's a series that was created by Chris Carter. He's in the entertainment field, not to be confused with Chris Carter, the receiver. And it stars Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny, and basically Fox Mulder and Scully. So, David Duchovny is the person that wants to believe. He believes in little green men, aliens, things that go bump in the night. And Gillian Anderson as Scully is the skeptic. She's the scientist, the doctor, who does not believe in any of these things. So, as the series starts, they're two FBI agents put together to investigate what are called the X-Files. So these are cases that don't fit into your typical FBI type thing, kidnappings, things on that line. These are the ones that no one wants to investigate, so they always give them to David Duchovny's character, known as Spooky Mulder. So this 9-year series actually kind of popularized, it's a tough one, the serialized type of storytelling. It brought it back. So not only were there, monsters of the week or standalone stories, but, you had storylines that would last, years or throughout the entire series. So it's interesting revisiting it again. And of course, the good thing with Netflix, you can watch in batches, so you can power rush through it. You don't have to wait till next week to see the next episode. You can watch 2-3 episodes at a time, or you can just skip ahead to pick and choose to the ones that you remember that you wanted to see and that you haven't seen in years. So really excited about that. Just started it up maybe about a month ago. I know I won't finish by the time January rolls around and the new series comes back. But that's okay. So I'm going to try to get through it anyway, and probably go through the episodes that I like the best and remember from watching years ago. So, if you haven't ever seen the X-Files, it's not a bad time to learn about it and watch the episodes. Again, it's on Netflix, so you can watch every season from the beginning. Now, what I've been listening to is an oldie. It's actually a few years old. It's actually an album called Hello, My Name Is, and it's by an artist by the name of Bridget Mendler. Now, if you have children, she's known as Teddy on the show. I want to say it's on Disney. They don't make any new episodes, but it was called Good Luck Charlie, and she played, one of the children on the show that basically at the end of every episode, she records a video diary for her baby sister, Charlie, to just teach her about growing up. And it's a very interesting show, but what's really interesting is, this album kind of came out, well, at least for me, it's something that my daughters can listen to. She has a very, wide range, it's very pop. It's a pop album. There's a few ballads in it. But considering she came out around the same time as, like your Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato, she flew under the radar. This album came out in 2012. And the album, it holds up, some very fun songs, fun to sing along. And again, it's an album that you can share with your whole family. So if you haven't ever checked it out, give it a try. Hello, My Name Is by Bridget Mendler. And that's what I am reading, watching, and listening to this week. When we return, we're going to get into it. My favorite duets of all time. All right, we're back on the Multifarious Man podcast. I am Jay Vincent, Multifarious Man on Twitter. And again, this is episode number 9. It takes 2 to make a thing go right. Now, putting together this show, I kind of went back and listened to a lot of these songs. Tried to figure out, is this a duet? Is this not a duet? What excludes something as a duet? And certain songs that I love didn't make the list, and not because they're not great songs, but simply because it kind of It was kind of that in between. So I ended up leaving off things like All I Need by Mary J. Blige and Method Man. And it's not because I don't consider it a duet. It's just that, I don't know, it's almost like, well, at least in hip hop, there's a lot of times you'll have a song with, a featured artist, whether it's the singer and then featured rapper, or a rapper with a featured singer. And that one kind of straddled the line, even though they both, are equally represented, and it's not really just Mary J. Blige singing the hook. So yes, I love the song, but it did not make this list. Now, this list, actually, I'm going to start off with an old song, old from my youth, came out in the 80s, and this song is special to me because my mother used to play it all the time. She was a fan of both the artists in this song, and they are Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton. And I remember when I was younger, she would play music by both of them. So growing up, I was familiar with, the country artists, and, that she played. And the song is Islands in the Stream. And I remember we actually had the single of this, so it was a 45. For those of you that are too young to remember, this was before CDs, this was before cassettes were popular. You would get a single song on what was called a 45. So it's smaller than the big records, which were 78s. And it's the number just denotes how fast it spins, how many RPMs, rotations per minute. And it was smaller, and it was the single. And I just remember playing that one over and over again. And it's a really, really fun song. And the way these two, Hall of Fame worthy artists harmonize together, it is just a truly beautiful, beautiful love song and duet. And they both get equal billing on it. So if you haven't heard it before, crank up your Amazon or your Apple or your Spotify and look up Islands in the Stream. Next up is a song by two artists that were both very popular in the 80s for being in groups. And they are Phil Collins from Genesis and, of course, Philip Bailey from Earth, Wind, and Fire. And the song they did together is called Easy Lover. And it's a fun up-tempo song that really highlights the differences between their two voices. Now, if you've ever heard anything from Earth, Wind, and Fire, Philip Bailey does a lot of the lead singing on a lot of the songs, and he has a nice high falsetto, high voice. Phil Collins, very earthy, very rich, a lot of bass in his voice, but they both harmonize well together, and it's a fun song. I remember the video. It was, very Spartan video, and it's just them kind of like on a sound stage. And I just remember them in sneakers and kind of like the Don Johnson from the 80s Miami Vice look, with them singing the song together. So if you haven't heard it, go check it out. Next up on the list is a song that was really popular in the 70s. You've probably heard it before. People probably sing it a lot on shows like probably on a Glee, or you probably heard it on American Idol, or anything where, or even a movie where people end up singing some duet. And if they show videos on TV, a lot of times it may be this song. And it's by Elton John and Kiki D, and it's called Don't Go Breaking My Heart. And it's one of those songs that's very playful, very fun. There's a lot of give and take between the two artists on the song. It is a love song, but you can tell it was two people that were just really, really having fun doing the song. And, in the lyrics and, the way Elton John plays the piano. And here was a song where he was able to perform with, I personally don't know a lot about Kiki D. I pretty much just know her from this song. But you can still hear this song played on your adult contemporary pop radio, your top 40 type If you can catch something, I bet you could probably even hear old countdowns of Casey Kasem top 40 playing it. But check it out. It's a really fun song, and that's why it made my list of top duets. Now the next song, it's on the list for multiple reasons. First, I absolutely love these two artists. They are Diana Ross and the ultimate diva, and Lionel Richie. Now both of them got their start in groups that were top groups. Lionel Richie in the Commodores, and Diana Ross, of course, famously in the Supremes. And when they got together to do this song, I believe it was specifically originally for the movie Endless Love. If you're a fan of the 80s, this was a movie that starred a very young Brooke Shields. And this was the love theme from that movie. And beyond that, I guess what makes this probably stand out even more in my head, other than the fact that it's just a beautiful, beautiful song by Lionel Richie. He doesn't get enough credit for his songwriting. Just it really showcases both Lionel and Diana Ross's voices. But what really stands out for me is in the 80s there was this show called, I want to say it's Putting on the Hits, and it really all it was a lip sync show. So with Jimmy Fallon and LL Cool J bringing lip sync battles back, it kind of made me think of this. And on this show, Putting on the Hits, people would dress up as their favorite artists and would basically lip sync. So this one guy, when he did Endless Love, so it starts with one person singing it, then it switches to the girl. I can't remember if Diana Ross starts or Lionel Richie starts. But what this guy did was he started in silhouette, so he's turned one way, and you're like, okay, looks like Lionel Richie. Okay, he's singing Lionel Richie's part. But then when he switches to Diana Ross's part, he switches and turns around, and sure enough, he is in drag. Half of his body is dressed up like Diana Ross. So to this day, when I hear that song, it makes me think of Endless Love every time, and just cracks me up. So that song, that performance, you might be able to YouTube it, maybe do a search for Endless Love, Putting on the Hits. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. I hope it doesn't ruin the song, but for me, it's just one of those things that just sticks with you. Next, two superstars in their own right. Paul McCartney. Yeah, some superstar called him Phil. Sorry, Sir Paul, if you ever hear this show. And the legendary Michael Jackson. Now, they did a couple of songs together, and the other one I didn't put on this because, it was on the Thriller album, and it's called, I don't even remember the name of it right now, but it was one of those songs like, yeah, all right, Paul McCartney, Michael Jackson, great. But this one is a great one, and it's called Say, Say, Say. It's just a wonderful, beautiful song. And I remember the video because, they were kind of like a traveling caravan in the countryside. Michael and Paul going back and forth, and I believe Linda McCartney, Paul's now deceased wife, was in the video too, as they're going through the countryside, and it just seemed like a really playful song and video by these two mega superstars. And the fact that they got together to do this, that made it even more pertinent and important. And in fact, I think just recently, Paul McCartney released another version of it with different Michael Jackson vocals. If you get a chance, check it out. They actually have a video that goes along with it, and it's a beautiful black and white video. And it really, makes you think about, what a wonderful song it was. So if you haven't heard it, cue it up, listen to it. Great song. Next on the list is a song called We Can't Be Friends. Now, this is from an artist, Deborah Cox. who probably is these days does more gospel music, but this woman has such an amazing, deep, rich voice. And I actually own this I bought this as a single, as a CD single. Love it, love it, love it. And the duet is with RL from the group Next. And it's a song about, two people that, they're not together anymore, and about how they, if we can't be lovers, we can't be friends. It's like they still run into each other. They still know the same people. He sees her family. She still sees his. And the video that goes along with this song and the back and forth and the longing that you hear in the words and the way they're singing, and their voices just really they just melt together. When it hits the high points, the low points, you hear the longing in their voice, you hear the love, the lost. And when I play this song, I put it on repeat and can listen to it over and over and over again. It's one of those songs that I like to sing along to in the car. So if you ever see me riding around in my car and I'm just singing, I look like I'm singing or maybe like I'm having a fit, I'm probably listening to We Can't Be Friends. Next on the list, this is another duet including Sir Paul McCartney. This one is with Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder. And, of course, it's called Ebony and Ivory. It's a beautiful song. I love it to death. It's on this list not only because I think it's a great song, but I can't help but getting a chuckle every time I hear this song. Because in the 80s, when Eddie Murphy was on Saturday Night Live, and this was at the height of his popularity on that show, he used to do an impersonation of Stevie Wonder that was just spot on, with the braids, the glasses, the head movement, everything. So they did a version of this song with Stevie Wonder, so it's Eddie Murphy in character, and Joe Piscopo, who's a really popular comedian in the 80s, and he was on Saturday Night Live. He was Frank Sinatra. And they did a version of Ebony and Ivory that's, a little risque, a little rude, probably not politically correct today, but I just can't help but think about it whenever I hear the real song. I kind of close my eyes and picture that old Saturday Night Live skit. If you haven't seen it, it's definitely available on the NBC app, and I think they still have a Saturday Night Live 40th anniversary app. It's worth checking out just for the silliness of the song. And the lyrics. Listen to the lyrics. It's definitely worth it. Again, not very politically correct, but very, very funny. And I still love the real song, because it's just a beautiful song by two wonderful artists. Next on the list, some people may think it's controversial and say, well, what about your rule about people that, weren't known for being in groups? Well, first of all, I'll say Method Man and Redman are known, Method Man for being in Wu-Tang Clan and being a solo artist, and Redman is known for being a solo artist. Yes, in later days, they did put out albums together. Yes, Method Man and Red, did put out albums as a duet. But I want to say at the time they came out with the song How High and How High remix, it was just a one-off song that they put out. May have been on one or the other one's albums, or it may have even just been for a movie soundtrack. But I love this song. Don't care what anybody says. It's one of my favorite rap duets, and it truly is a duet. Back and forth, back and forth. Some people may say they like Brooklyn's Finest by Jay-Z and Biggie, or we love the Dough. But this one, top of my list in terms of rap duets. Don't care what anybody says. My show. I love this song, How High, and specifically the remix. But that's why it's on the list. So there you have it. Next, it was from Jordan Sparks' album, of American Idol fame. And it's a duet she did with Chris Brown. Yes, I know Chris Brown is controversial. Don't care. For the purpose of this, it's about songs that I really love. And this duet, Nowhere, both the regular version and the acoustic version, they're just beautiful. It's just a beautiful song, and their voices just fit well together. And I like playing this on the guitar. So yeah, I'm a little biased. I didn't say I could sing it, but I like playing, the acoustic version on the guitar. So there you have it. It's called No Air. Again, my list. Next up is There's Nothing Better Than Love. Now, this is a classic song by Luther Vandross, who, if you know anything about anything, the man could sing. Just a phenomenal soulful voice. But what was surprising, at least for me, is the fact that Gregory Hines sang the duet. Now, Gregory Hines, he's, tap dance supreme, actor, musician, and I learned in later years, a talented singer. And when I first heard this song on, Luther's album, I fell in love with it from the start. It is a beautiful, beautiful song. And Gregory Hines did not get enough credit by, just for the fact that he held his own with Luther on this song. And I can listen to it over and over and over again. It's probably my favorite Luther Vandross song, to be honest with you. And the fact it's, by, a famous actor is singing a duet with him. But, Gregory Hines got his start, in theater and on stage. So it's fitting. But the fact that it was so surprising is that probably makes it stand out more for me on this list. So There's Nothing Better Than Love. If you haven't heard it, check it out. Next up is On My Own, and this is by Patti LaBelle, the phenomenal Patti LaBelle from LaBelle, Lady Marmalade. Miss LaBelle can just sing anybody under the table. Maybe you'll say Aretha has a better voice overall. I don't know. It's debatable. But she can just flat out sing. And Michael McDonald, they call it Wide-Eyed Soul. I don't care what you say. The man can sing. You go back and listen to not just his solo stuff, but the stuff he did when he was with the Doobie Brothers. Harmonies, rich voice. He could sing a cappella. It doesn't matter. The man has a beautiful voice with wonderful range. And this song, On My Own, about love loss, they fit well together. Certain things, like peanut butter and chocolate, peanut butter and jelly, things like that, they just fit together. Well, Michael McDonald and Patti LaBelle, their voices just fit together. I wish they had done a lot more together in terms of duets. Next up is I Just Can't Stop Loving You. This was a song by Michael Jackson and Siedah Garrett. Most people don't know Siedah Garrett is singing the song with him. And, just like most of the things that Michael Jackson does, it's just a beautiful song. And them singing it together, it is what it is. I just can't stop loving you. That's the song. And I saw them sing this together, I want to say 87, 88, during Michael Jackson's Bad tour. It just shut the house down. I mean, it's, a lot of his shows were very kinetic and quick and dancing and everything, but the two of them on stage, right next to each other, in each other's face, singing this song together, you felt it. You felt like they couldn't stop loving each other. So you haven't heard it, you better get out there and listen to it. I Just Can't Stop Loving You. The next was years and years and years in the making. And when it finally came out, they came out with probably what was at the time the most expensive video ever made when they did this. And of course, I'm talking about Scream by Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson. Probably one of the only artists that could hold a candle to Michael is his little sister Janet in terms of dancing, singing, very similar to her big brother. And this was really the first time they got together and did a song together, and it was an event. Still love it. Just the attitude, the fire, the fierceness, the back and forth, the dancing that went along in the video. wonderful, wonderful song. And it's one of my all-time favorite. Now, last on the list, and as I went through this and I listened to a lot of these songs again, and even though this isn't one that I listen to all the time, but when I do listen to it, I stop and really, really listen to it. Take a breath, focus, whatever you want to call it. And it's because the two artists that sing it, I'll just say it. So this is Fire and Desire, and it's by Rick James and Tina Marie. And yeah, you may know Rick James, Super Freak. Okay, yeah, Super Freak, great. And some of you may only know Rick James from Dave Chappelle Show and the stories, the Charlie Murphy stories. But anyone that's anyone, late 70s, early 80s, in terms of R&B music, Rick James, Tina Marie, these two, they really could sing. And this song, Fire and Desire, is a tour de force. I love it because I tend to really, really enjoy those duets that kind of build, they each have their part, his part, her part, his part, her part, back and forth, singing the chorus back and forth. But then at some point the song builds and builds and builds. And then there's a point where they're both singing at the same time about fire and desire. And it's just the way that it builds, it's just boom, 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 boom. It's layers and it builds. It's silky. It's smooth. It's sensual. It's exciting. And that's why this one was my pick for my favorite all-time duet song. If you haven't heard it before, I'm surprised. So, I don't know what even age range you need to be to have heard it. But I definitely recommend listening to it. Again, Fire and Desire by Rick James and Tina Marie. And that's it for my list. So I hope, maybe there was some gems you haven't heard of before. If there's something maybe you think I missed or you disagree with, send me a tweet at Multifarious Man. Put a comment on Multifarious Man Podcast 2015 on Facebook, or you can add a comment when I post the show notes and the episode in multifariousman.com, or you can send me an email at multifarious.man.podcast@gmail.com. And when we come back, I will close out the show, and that'll be it for another week. And again, thank you. I am the Multifarious Man, and I am your host also, Jay Vincent, and I will be right back. All right, I'm back. This is, again, episode 9, Multifarious Man Podcast. It takes two to make a thing go right. I hope you enjoyed this week's show. I had a fun time putting it together, listening to a lot of these old songs. Some I still listen to a lot today. Some I haven't listened to in years. But, and they're like old friends, and, it's like when an old friend calls up or visits, you just pick right back up where you were. And it's like no time has ever been gone. Maybe I've introduced you to a song that you wouldn't have thought of listening to before. Or like I said, it's something you haven't listened to in years, or it makes you go back and listen to songs you haven't listened to. So check them out. Let me know what you think. Let me know if I missed anything. Let me know if there's something you just flat out disagree with. If not, again, this has been another episode of the Multifarious Man Podcast, and I hope that you check it out again next week.
Numerous and varied, greatly diverse and manifold. All the things I want to say that never been told. Demon Sinatra to Drake and Pharrell. When I'm listening to this week, you can never tell. Bogey and Bacall, even Meryl Streep. The devil wears Prada, even the big sleep. It doesn't matter where you stand, I'm the multifarious man.